My name is Vince DiFiore, and I play the trumpet and keyboards for Cake.
Hey, you guys just arrived here?
We did. We arrived yesterday. We had an all-night flight. I had yesterday to acclimate to the time change and watch the election on CNN. And now here we are at the Paradiso, ready to play the show tonight. This is our first European show of this album tour.
This is probably the day after also for you guys, right? I mean, you guys had a very outspoken website. You could download funny clips on the new president.
Yeah, it's true. This is sort of like the day after. They haven't counted all the votes in Ohio yet, but it seems like it's over and that Bush has been reelected. And it's sort of a little bit of a downer for us, a lot of a downer for us. It's sort of depressing. My first impulse is to just bury myself in my own life and do more work with the band and forget about politics for a while.
Did you expect this, actually? Because afterwards a lot of people go like, well, yeah, well, we expected this all along.
Yeah, I thought Kerry was going to win, actually, because it seemed like he was so much of the obvious, intelligent choice. You know?
That says a lot about America, right?
Yeah, it seems so clear to me. But there are a lot of people, I think, who are busy and involved in their own lives. They have certain fundamental Republican values, fundamental religious values, and the Republican candidate somehow represents those ideals to them better, and they just tend to vote Republican. No matter what the Republicans' record is on international relations, you know, on the economy, on his environmental record. Some people, they don't really care about that. They just want somebody who they feel represents their values.
What do you think, what will this mean to America, internationally speaking?
I think we need to get a good Secretary of State. Like, we need somebody else who's going to reach out to the rest of the countries and somehow salvage diplomatic relations. And I think the people in general have to keep on understanding more about the Islamic world and get out of, if there is any kind of religious war going on between Christianity and Islam, we need to get out of that and start acknowledging Islam and what it is to be a Muslim, and you know, start to have a little bit of empathy and compassion for the people who are trying to get on with their lives in Iraq.
Now, I didn't know, maybe you missed it, or because it was also on CNN, but just yesterday, a famous director, Mr. Van Gogh, was killed by Muslim extremists on the street in a really bad way with a big knife. Wow. What are your reactions to that?
I heard about that yesterday. Some lady was talking about it, and you know, I ran into her at a bar, and she was saying how her plans had changed because someone was killed. And I also saw his shrine here in Amsterdam. He has a painting on the wall here, and I don't know if someone just did that yesterday. Okay, well, that's a beautiful painting. They put it up very quick. And some candles. People were having some sort of an observance of his life. I mean, that kind of thing is going to happen. And I suppose if you're somebody who likes to speak out and talk about your political point of view, you can't really worry about that kind of a thing because it's very random.
I mentioned it normally. I mean, I don't really see the point about talking about politics with musicians because you're here for the music, right? But you guys have such a strong opinion on your website about the presidential elections, so I think this is a thing you have to bring up.
Music is a very social thing. You end up meeting a lot of people, and you can't talk about music all the time. You can't talk about the lyrical content of the songs all the time. You don't want to get mushy and personal all the time about some sort of sentiment that is expressed in the music. So naturally, politics is a very readily available subject to talk about. Yeah,
certainly at this point in time. Hey, but like you mentioned, this is the first time you guys are going to tour Europe for the new album, Pressure Chief.
Yeah, it is. This is the first time we did some advanced publicity here. We came about a month ago and talked to some journalists. This time is our first concert, and we've had some great great response to the music in the United States, and enjoyed performing. We had a tour that lasted about 3.5 weeks recently. So those are the first shows in the United States, and now these are the first shows here. We're going to France also, and Germany and Switzerland on this tour.
Hey, what can we expect this time, Cake Live? Is it going to be different, or is it going to be Cake, like the fans like it?
Oh yeah, I guess so. You know, I keep on thinking that the music. I keep on thinking we're a little bit more rock and roll now. You know, we rock out a little bit more. We're a little louder and messy and powerful than we usually have. But I'm thinking now that we're in Europe, maybe we'll back off a little bit. We don't want to seem like some sort of a Sherman tank or something like that. You know, like the hawkish American part of us might be revealed here. So maybe we'll temper it a little bit since we're in Europe. We don't want to come off as being like the sound of chainsaws in the rainforest or something like that, you know?
That's not your sound, right?
No, supposedly, you know, but we do have electrified instruments, so that can be a problem sometimes, you know?
Hey, for some reason, I had the impression the band broke up maybe a year and a half ago. As I can recall, somebody in the record industry told me, well, Cake, they're no longer there, which is obviously a lie, but were you guys inactive for a while, or?
No, we've never been inactive, you know, and now we've had 5 albums in 10 years, which is not a bad record, you know. That's a pretty good ratio of albums to years, and it has been 3 years since we put out the last record, but we spent a year on touring. We spent another year setting up the studio and starting to record it. So it just took some time. You know, we created our own studio this time. This last record, Pressure Chief, was made in our own studio. We engineered it ourselves. You know, we were our own producers and arrangers as usual. But that was something that took a little bit of time, getting our studio together, getting a new group of songs, and making sure that the arrangements were appropriate and good musically.
This is one of your best rated albums as far as the internet and the listeners go. I was checking out a couple of websites, and this one is overall the best rated album ever.
Oh, well, that's good. You know, it's sort of the one that's on our minds right now, and it's maybe as a band, sometimes you're only as good as your latest effort, you know, so we always make sure that our albums are good. We feel a lot of pressure when we're making an album, that it's important to make a good album because you want to show people that you're still a vital band, and you want to prove to yourselves that you have a lot to offer musically. So good. I'm glad it's being. We still love all of our old records. We think that you know, this is one of 5 good records, but it is the current one. So we're putting everything behind it musically and philosophically.
Now, live, do you guys play songs of previous albums as well?
Oh, sure we do. Yeah, we play from each album equally. Really, we played just as many songs from the first as we do from the second, third, fourth, and fifth. Yeah, we're playing maybe about 4 or 5 new songs, and you know, about equal from the rest of the albums. Yeah, we actually, some people compare our recent album to our first album, because the first album was made kind of like haphazardly, or just without thinking about it too much. You know, we just went into the studio and everybody had ideas. We didn't have a very set way of doing things. And with this album, the same thing. We have our own studio, so we sort of reset our process and started over from scratch in a way, and had the opportunity to throw a lot of ideas at the project and see which ones would work.
Why would you build your own studio?
Well, we didn't build it. We just got a small old 2-bedroom house and put a bunch of musical equipment in there. We didn't even put up any drywall or punch out any walls or anything like that. You know, we just did it all with you know, headphones and microphones. Yeah, it's just, we just did it in a house, really. Yeah,
Why would you record an album in a house?
In a house? Because we can, because it sounds just as good. It really sounds just as good as in going in a studio. And some of the things that don't sound as good, we're happy about. You know, there's a little bit of digital distortion on some parts that we kept. We could have done it over and tried for a smoother sound on a vocal delivery or a trumpet line, but there was some kind of harshness and raspiness that we thought maybe was good. You know, we never like our music to sound too smooth. We always want it to sound a little junky, a little trashy. We're always very careful about that. We don't want it to sound slick.
You guys are one of the few bands who really has their own sound.
Well, that's great. Thanks. You know, I don't know how that happened.
Just plugged in and played, probably?
Yeah. I think it really comes from paring down, from breaking down, from having a really full sound, you know, from not wanting it to sound too overblown.
Not wanting it to sound like anybody else.
Yes, yeah. We're very conscious of the 5 pieces in the band and trying to balance them equally with each other and create a good ensemble sound, create balanced arrangements without trying to make too many things happen at one time.
Right after Fashion Nugget came out, a lot of journalists predicted a huge breakthrough for Cake. For some reason, the huge breakthrough didn't come. Why is that, you think?
Well, we've always gone under the radar a little bit. I think we've always been pretty careful about not becoming too popular because we see people who gain a lot of recognition and then get knocked out of the way, you know, like, hey, here they are, okay, let's get rid of them now, you know. So if we keep doing things in our own way and keep making music of good quality, but try not to get in anyone's face too much, maybe we can stay around a little bit.
Now, this is a question I ask a lot of musicians. What sort of music do you guys listen to? But I mean, for Cake, this is a really difficult question, probably because you guys listen to everything, I guess?
Yeah, a lot of different music. I mean, a lot of the influence, I think everybody appreciates music like AC/DC, this kind of straight-ahead rock and roll music.
Come on, AC/DC was like about the last band, I would tell.
Well, there's that kind of groove, that kind of rock groove in our music a little bit. And then there's a lot of other influences. I don't really like to talk about what music I'm listening to because I don't feel like I have the best taste, really. I just like try to find some stuff that inspires me, and it's kind of like my own. Do you have this cheesy kind of expression? If something is cheesy, it's something that's popular in the United States. It means that it's sort of like sappy, like a personal, sentimental stuff, but not worth talking about. So not worth sharing with us. Something you keep to yourself, and that's really the music that inspires me and gives me the chills and everything. But I don't share that because I don't feel like it represents the band very well. Because the other guys actually listen to some music that is very hip and very cool and very good musically, which I like too. And actually some really good music that I don't mind talking about is Guajiro. That's the nickname of the trumpet player in the Cuban group from the Buena Vista Social Club. So he finally has his own solo album, which is really like a Buena Vista Social Club 2 because it has a lot of the same people, including the piano player from that Buena Vista Social Club record. And so that's some new music that I've been inspired from. This kind of Cuban what do you call it? It's a kind of a samba music, you know, this Cuban, the stuff that came out of the nightclubs of the 50s and 60s.
That's also the sort of feel I get from Cake music, actually.
Yeah, we are influenced by Latin music. We like that rhythm. It's sort of like an Afro.
And also the atmosphere. I mean, I can place you guys in Cuba back in the 50s.
Oh, maybe so. Yeah, we try to play directly to our audience. That's the thing. I mean, we've never wanted to be one of these bands that are playing for 20 people, but it seems like you're playing for Madison Square Garden in New York City. You know, we started out playing to groups of 12, 20 people and playing very directly to them, acknowledging their presence in the room. And we play that same way now, even though we play for, more like 1,000 people at a time. We feel like we are recognizing that everybody's in the room together. This is a direct musical expression. We're not trying to be like Van Halen or something like that.